Hello, everyone. My name is Vina. I am a friend of Christopher's who also writes for his site sometimes. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Lucy Dacus's new album, Forever is a Feeling. Came out end of March. It's been out for a few weeks now. And as a little bit of backstory, I'm not like a huge Lucy Dacus fan. I like some of her stuff quite a bit. I really liked her last album, Home Video, but I'm not like a super fan. And I really like Boy Genius quite a bit. That's her band with Phoebe Bridgers and Julian Baker. I really enjoyed their last album, but again, I'm not like a mega fan. So, what made me really curious about this album is that it was kind of being billed as like this was the sort of confessional album of Lucy Dacus talking about falling in love with Julian Baker from Boy Genius. And I'm a huge Fleetwood Mac fan. I was very curious what this sort of inner band romance kind of situation, how that would come about, especially a queer version of that. And I think for the most part, it was very successful. I don't think that this is a perfect album, but I think it's a really good album. It has a lot to love. It's very joyful for the most part. I think that Home Video is like I was kind of thinking about it as like that's almost an album that sort of lives in the gut. It's very raw, it's very emotional. It's like pretty, it's pretty intense. There's some pretty intense things being portrayed on that album. And this is much more an album that lives in the heart. This is much more kind of romantic. This is somebody who seems to be at a more um maybe a little bit of a more adult place in their life, which would make sense. And so I think, some of the reviews that I've read have said that people feel like this wasn't, lacked some of the emotional intensity of Lucy Dacus's other work. And while I don't necessarily disagree with that, I don't think it's entirely a bad thing. I don't know that this album is entirely cohesive. I also one little issue that I have with Lucy Dacus is that her voice is so sort of lilting and soft that I think sometimes some of the emotions of the lyrics, which are always fantastic, she has great lyrics, are lost just a little bit. But I think when it works, it really, really works. Some of the standouts for me, I really like Big Deal, which is kind of this song about like I feel like there's something here and maybe, we've kind of acknowledged that there's something here, but it's not really ever going to happen. But I want you to know, how much you matter to me kind of thing. And it's really lyrically strong. And just, I think, does a really good job of capturing that particular emotion. In general, I think that these songs feel very specifically queer in a way that's really a fun listen and for a queer fan like myself is like gives lends a little bit more relatability that's really welcome. Some of the other songs that I liked quite a bit are Best Guess, which is another one of the singles. That one is kind of taking this idea of like, I want to be with you forever, but it's sort of couching it in the idea of like, you're my best guess for the future, which I think is a very inventive way of sort of approaching that concept. I also think that the closing track, Lost Time, is a really strong highlight. That's one that's really kind of getting into the idea of like, you've missed time that you could have been with your person in a romantic sense. And I think that's very relatable in a lot of ways. I definitely related to that. And For Keeps is also a strong one. It's a shorter song, but it kind of it's a little bit more of a melancholy take because this album is really sort of the arc of a relationship from maybe there's like this burgeoning hope up to like, okay, maybe we're each other's forever person. Some of the songs, I wasn't a huge fan of Limerence. I felt it was kind of a little bit, didn't have much of a melody. I also think Come Out is sort of a strange one. It's the song that lyrically is about wanting to scream your lover's name, but musically is very kind of, it almost is like early Ingrid Michaelson. Like it's just very, very mellow. And I think sometimes there's a bit of a mismatch between the emotion of the lyrics and then the actual like performance and instrumentation. This is Lucy Dacus's first big studio release. There's a lot more kind of fuller instrumentation here than on her previous albums, which is really fun to listen to, and it's exciting when you get to kind of hear an artist sort of expanding their sound a little bit. Yeah, I think that this is not like the most even album of all time. It's not necessarily an album that, you know, is going to like be a must listen down the line, but I think it's a really enjoyable album. It feels kind of nice to be coming out at the beginning of spring because it's a lot about sort of burgeoning and blooming of feelings. And I think I would give it a solid like B plus. I think the things that work here really work, and even the things that aren't as successful, I think are still pretty listenable. So that's my take on Forever is a Feeling. Thank you for listening.